I'm Mary Lyons, and I am the Wealth Woman.
And I'm Eric Alexander from Benchmark Income Group.
And this is the Big Wealth Podcast.
Everything you've ever been taught about money is wrong.
But don't worry, we're here to help.
On this podcast, we'll use the same tools you already know to actually help set you free.
Free to do what you want with your time, with your money, and with your energy. Free to live your life the way you have dreamt about.
So we're going to talk about wealth knowledge, personal reflections, and the financial industry news of the day.
Welcome to the Big Wealth. Today we have Sonia Azad, health and wellness reporter for WFAA, and also a certified yoga and meditation instructor. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I think this is my first financial podcast.
I love it. Well, I actually think there's a perfect dovetail right here because, when you think about the three areas that have the biggest impact on someone's life, you've got finances, which we take care of, and then you've got health and spirituality. And so who better to go to for help with the other two than our resident Dallas expert? So I'm really excited that we get to have you on the show because we've known each other for a while. We met in college. You were one of the first people that I met, and we've kind of stayed in touch on and off throughout the years. But I'm really excited to share you with our audience. So Eric, I know you have some questions right off the bat that you want to jump into.
Yeah, I was looking at your profile, and I think the profile was certified yogi and news junkie, and it seems like those two are. I'm not sure they're in the same ballpark, but they seem to be almost a conflict with one another.
Yeah.
So how did you get into
really
both ends?
They're for sure on opposite ends of the spectrum. I've always known since I was about 8 or 9 years old that I wanted to work in television news and journalism, excavating truth and sort of like bringing what's happening to people into their homes. I love people. I love being a connector. I love truth, facts, information, evidence, show me. What do you mean? Show me.
Right.
But like around 2014, I was having a really rough time. My job was all about covering crime for about 12 years. So it was like, and I was covering crime for the morning show. So it was like, wake up at 1:30 in the morning, check email. Where am I going today in a live truck? Oh, this murder scene, this cop was shot, this person, it was the intersection of people's worst days every day. And I had to show up.
And you're not at the unicorn factory talking about how great it is, right?
No, that was not my job. So, and, at some level I had climbed this ladder because back in the day, you graduated from, University of Texas, journalism school, right? Like you get a job in a small market, you get the next job, exponential increases. And so that was the goal. But then I got to this top 10 market and I was like, my quality of life sucks. I mean, if I can just be frank. Yeah. So I had always practiced yoga, was a marathon runner, always very active. And so I decided to get my yoga teaching certification sort of on the side. And when that contract ended for that job, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to take a break. And the break ended up being shorter than I thought. I was just teaching yoga, loving life. And I got a call from WFAA, the news director saying, hey, we know that you like this healthy lifestyle stuff. Have you ever considered being a medical reporter? And I was like, I just got out of this world. Like, let's talk about this. So, to her credit, my boss at the time was very forward-thinking, progressive. And I told her in my interview, I feel like I just got out of an abusive relationship and I don't know that I'm ready to step back into a newsroom.
Right. It's frenetic, right? At best.
Totally. Right. So we talked through it. I decided, I'm like, let's not call it medical reporting. That kind of scares people. And it's like a lot of confusing information, very depressing. Let's call it health and wellness. Let's offer people ways to be healthy and stay positive and just like live your best life, as cliche as that sounds. And it's working. I mean, people really, this is what they're looking for. Science-based, again, not just like drink celery juice and lemon water or whatever is on Instagram, So.
Well, I love that your approach is evidence-based, because I think that's
Right.
one of the most difficult things for people right now is trying to figure out how they can make good decisions. And I know that's true in our arena financially, because there's plenty of talking heads, and then there's plenty of people who aren't licensed and have no training who are offering financial advice all over the internet. And I think sometimes it's really difficult for people to find individuals who are qualified to give good advice, and not only have the qualifications, but who've done the research and who are evidence-based. So when you see how that is, when you look at your approach and you try and decide which information you share, how you're digesting it, what kind of goes through your mind? How do you vet the people that you're talking to? Because sometimes you can talk to two doctors and they each have totally different opinions. So what's your
Right.
metric? How do you really parse through some of that?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And I would say, like, number one, I never pretend to be the doctor myself. I think a lot of reporters are saying stuff out there that I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish she didn't say it like that. I wish he didn't say it like that. We cannot tell people what to do. We do not know everyone's, health history or current state of their body, physically, mentally, emotionally, all this stuff. And so, and nor can I speak for everyone with a pencil, paper, microphone, anything like that. But in terms of, what I enjoy doing is bringing on someone who I've developed a relationship with, who I've researched, and who is realistic, right? The best doctors will often say, and through COVID have often said, I don't know. Now, that's not a sufficient answer for some people because they want to know. But the truth is, this whole thing is new, not just to us, it's new to the world. And so we have to be patient. We have to wait for these studies to be conducted. We have to wait. We have to pour through this research, right? Pour through the research. And so, like, I think that we're so uncomfortable with that idea of I don't know that we often avoid it. And so that's where you get some doctors who are like in this camp or in this camp. And so I try not to go to the extremes. I like this center point of, I can see it that way. This is a good point. We think this is what the current research says. Keep in mind, it could evolve.
Still developing.
Yeah.
Right.
And same with, I want to mention too, same with registered dietitian nutritionists. Like, I do not like people giving health advice or, drink this or, everyone wants a magic pill or a secret something to lose weight or whatever. And there's a lot of marketing out there. And so those are the nutrition experts I like to bring on too. So.
Well, and it keeps changing. Like from when I was a kid, eggs are bad, bacon's bad. Now eggs, not so much. Maybe they're okay. It's like, for and the consumer level, it's like, well, forget it. I'm just gonna eat what I want, right? At some point, it'll be in vogue.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean that also. It's like what I read is medical journals, right? But so the lay person, I mean, just like you guys read financial stuff that I would make my eyes cross. My job is to absorb this information and then to connect you with resources and even kind of like explain the information in a layperson's way, or a way that a layperson could understand. It's not easy. It's not as easy as people would think because I'm not a trained doctor. But I think you do have to consider the source from which this information is coming. And a lot of times, especially now, the internet's wide open, right? So it's like, oh, but I read this. Oh, but I saw this. And I'm like, you read it? Who? They said this. Who is they? I mean, I say that all the time. Who is they? So yeah, I mean, we have a lot to, I hate to use the word fight, but like a lot to fight against or fight through in just getting very basic information out there.
Yeah.
Well, and that's that joke of, sorry, Mary, that's the joke of the difference between information and wisdom, right? There's some balance on the other end. Sorry, Mary, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, so much of what you said, even while you were talking, when you talked about the two extremes and, that you try to avoid the truth is somewhere in between. I frequently find that to be true in our industry as well. So there's definitely a lot of parallels. So I'm going to get a little bit more personal here for just a second, because one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on our show is because you've actually had kind of a profound impact on my life, whether you meant to or not. You did a speaking engagement for the Women's Finance Exchange a couple years ago. And I remember when you were talking, you talked about having an experience where you learned that you should approach the biggest conflict or the biggest source of grief or anger or anxiety in your life from a place of gratitude. And I remember you saying that you kind of struggled with that a little bit on the front end. And I was like, I don't like this idea. What you're saying, I don't want to be grateful for the things that are hard for me. And, but I went home and I made this gratitude list about something that was really bothering me. And I ended up coming out on kind of the other side of processing through that, thinking like, okay, I learned a lot in this experience and this is what it's done. And here's how it's made me a better person. Here's how it's made it easier for me to relate to other people. And that space of moving from anger to gratitude, I think like that transition for me was huge. And I think there are probably a lot of people right now who are dealing with anxiety or a sense of disconnect or just loneliness even, or trauma in some cases because of the experience of the past year and the isolation and just the fact that it was so different than the normal. Can you talk a little bit about the experience that triggered that transition for you, and maybe some of our listeners can benefit from that as well?
Yeah, so I think the more experts I talk to in the arena of, I'll say meditation specifically, because yoga here in the Western world means something else. I think, mentioning yoga, like you guys, I mean, probably Eric's like, oh yeah, some like really flexible lady in a class, doing something crazy, standing on her head or whatever. That's what people think of. Right. Namaste. Yes. But meditation, really has transformed my life. And not just meditate every once in a while, but like going to classes, going to workshops, eventually, which led me to this training that it's a 200-hour training. So it's not just like figure out how to meditate.
It's not an hour-long class.
No, 200 hours. And we studied 23 lineages of meditation. And, part of that is you have to practice this stuff, because how can I teach it to someone else if I don't really buy it, right? If I'm like, I guess I'll meditate like once a week, but I'm going to teach every day and I'm going to tell people that this really works. Doesn't work like that for me. But the more people I spoke with and the more books I read and the more podcasts I listened to, I'm like, I gotta change some of this stuff up, because, like Eric mentioned, this job and the pace of life and the demands and the expectations that people have, it's insane. You can't keep up with it and just be okay with everything every day. And I sort of like started to, I feel like people are not able to express a full range of emotions even anymore. Like you have to be positive. And I'm like, wait, no, let's just be real. We don't have to be positive all the time, but like, let's be real. So that's part of what you talked about, Mary, your processing, but it was your decision. It was you listening, number one, which we're not very good at these days either. And, people have such short attention spans. Think Instagram stories, 15 seconds. How many times do you just keep going because you don't want to watch or listen to someone's full 15 seconds worth of what they feel like is important to share? But you took the time, you carved out a time for yourself to do that processing, and it became healing. So you tried. And that's the other part of it, is through meditation, it gives you like a little bit of space between your thoughts. It slows you down. And just like I'm doing with my voice intentionally right now, it brings down the energy level of where we all are all the time, which is here. We wake up, we look at our phones, the light is bright, we check our email, ding, 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 ding. This person needs this. My kid is crying. My cat needs food. So already
you just described my morning routine minus the cat, because it's replaced with dogs.
See, same thing, right? Walk the dog. So already Mary's waking up and her life is being served and lived out for other people. So at what point does Mary go, what do I require from this day rather than what does this day require from me only? Yes, we want to give. We want to give to our children because we love them. We want to give to our animals because we love them. We want to give to our community, our neighbors, and our clients, and our anyone. We want to give naturally, but we also have to give from ourselves, to ourselves. What's that? You can't pour from an empty cup. I think, people
Right.
post that one a lot.
Yeah.
I like to say, you have to give from your overflow, not from the depths of your well, right? You got to give from your overflow. You got to have something to give.
That's good.
So,
Right.
yeah, I think I stole that. I think that was Rumi maybe, but anyway.
We'll give you credit on the
Thank
show.
you. Yeah, no, don't give me credit. I'm not plagiarizing. But, truly, I think setting aside these moments in every single day, you have to set aside moments. And I tell people, if you don't have 10 minutes a day for yourself, you got to reprioritize, right? Because that is what makes a difference. And not spending it multitasking. I'm getting a pedicure. I'm taking, this is self-care, but I'm also checking email. That's not.
Well, I think
that's not meditation.
There's a concept in financial advice that gets repeated a lot, and it's pay yourself first. And so many people don't do that, right? They do all the other things and then they look at what's left over to save. And what I think is so cool is that there's this consistency of idea here, right? You're saying exactly the same thing. You're saying when it comes to time and intentionality, pay yourself first so that then you can add everything else on top of that versus doing everything else. And then you're getting the leftovers. If there's anything left over to give, I think the parallels there are rather profound.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, and particularly if I may say this, women think that is so selfish, right? Like we are programmed to just give. And I mean, and my dad was a small business owner growing up. He owned restaurants. And so, there were periods of time where he was taking care of everyone else and not him financially in terms of the business. And so what you say is absolutely right. You got to put your own, oxygen mask on before you tend to others.
Yeah, we say that all the time with our clients in college planning.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I want to get them to school. I'm like, yeah. But you don't want to be broke on the other end of it.
They're going to be paying for your nursing home on the back end, right? There's a way to find balance between those two. Well, I really think this is kind of interesting. The idea that we don't take care of ourselves, I think, is definitely prevalent. And I just read an article kind of to the point that you made about women and self-care. So Eric, you chime in whenever you want, because
I've got one more question, but go.
Yeah. So the article, I don't remember exactly what it was titled, but the gist was that your 15-minute run to Target without your children is not self-care.
Correct.
And it even went so far as to say, like, taking a hot bath is not self-care. That's just called cleanliness, right? And so I also think there's this idea right now, and I think men do it too, because I certainly know plenty of men who are out working and they don't take care of themselves and end up, sick or ill because they're overextending in order to provide for their families. Right. But I think this idea of self-care, it's so nebulous, and it's definitely like a trendy thing to talk about right now. What does that actually mean to you?
Because it does feel selfish, question. Right? It feels totally selfish. So I'd love this.
Not to me, but I will say, because I always like to say, like, I'm not married and I don't have kids. And so that does change things, because I can sit here from my, place in the world and say, oh, take care of yourselves. But the reality is, Mary's life is very different, for instance, right? Like she has like her kids need to put their clothes on and go to school and bathe and, so that is your time, right? But then that makes it even more important to spend time on you. Here's why I love meditation as self-care, as opposed to what we think is self-care, the massage or whatever else. A massage feels great, right? We love the spa, but it's temporary. 4 days later, we're like, ugh, what are you going to do? You need another massage like every day, every 4 days or whatever, or a vacation. Yeah, it does. I know. That's that, that's what I picture in retirement. I don't know. But the effects of meditation are cumulative, right? So self-care to me is something that will stay with me. Like the healing that you did for yourself with that gratitude list, that was transformative. That stays with you. That is real self-care. And so, the investment, I guess, like since you guys are money people, I can't put a value on this type of work. And there's a lot of people who say, "Ugh, I don't want to go that deep into myself." And I say, look, that's okay. That means, signals to me that you do have some healing and some processing to do. You're just not ready for it yet. And a lot of times when people think of meditation, they are like, oh, but I'm a Christian. I don't meditate, I pray. And I'm like, no, but prayer and meditation can be one and the same. I think one of my followers in this Fitter Together group, we're going through a series of 12 challenges. So basically this year, I have this book, The Self-Care Solution by Dr. Jennifer Ashton. We're talking about self-care. I did not plan that, by the way. This is just all happenstance. We're following this book this whole year. So instead of one New Year's resolution, it's 12 resolutions, one per month, like one little challenge per month.
Oh, nice.
And March is meditation. So most of these people, 5,000 people in this Facebook group, most of them have not meditated with consistency at all. Most of them actually, it's their first time ever. And someone posted, well, there's, in the Bible, it says that when you're praying, you are speaking to God. But then she said, the difference for her is when you're meditating, you're listening. So, I think there are ways to sort of jump over these hurdles or these speed bumps that we put in place for ourselves. I like to say, get out of your own way, try it. And you may be surprised that something actually works for you.
Yeah, that's interesting because there's a great verse of be still and know that I'm the Lord, right? And that's a lot of meditations. Just stop, shut your mouth, be still, and and kind of be in that, right? And Mary talked about this a little bit earlier, but I think that's I had gone through that journey with, I'm Dan Harris and I are not buddies, but I went through the journey with Dan Harris in his 10% Happier book. And I kind of approach it at the beginning from those two standpoints of, hey, I'm a Christian. We don't, this seems maybe not antithetical, but sort of like a weird tangent. So sort of side eye looking at the concept, right?
Yeah.
But then the other end of it is, I grew up in West Texas. All this stuff feels a little woo-woo for us out in West Texas, right?
West Texas is pretty woo-woo though.
West Texas is getting woo-woo-ier, I think, lately. But there was two components of that book that I thought were really good. One of them, he talked about the monkey mind, which I'm like, oh, that's me. And I am, there are 400 thoughts running through my brain at any one point in time, and I'd like all of them to shut up. And some of the thoughts are my kids going, Dad, I need X, Y, or Z, right? But the other part of it, and the one that helped me the most, was this idea of, and it was around monkey mind, of getting behind the waterfall. This idea of like stepping back from where you are and kind of sort of, what is it? Dispassion. I suck at meditation. So if I'm doing it all wrong, you tell me, but sort of this idea of dispassionately looking at all the stuff that's coming at you and not judging it, right? Just kind of watching it from behind.
You just judge yourself. Nobody sucks at meditation. If you're sitting there or laying there, because some meditations you do laying down, you are observing your own thoughts. That's exactly right. And the monkey mind thing, that's most people. I mean, we have 60 to 65,000 thoughts per day, each person, a majority of which are repetitive and a majority of which are negative. So imagine this scenario, you sitting there right now and your boss calls or your kid's school calls and you're like, oh, here we go. Like, what now? Well, maybe they're calling for a good reason. Maybe they're calling to ask a question. I mean, maybe not, but our minds, like to pivot to the negative so often. Meditation, the science behind it is that it allows this concept of neuroplasticity to get in there. Like, do you know what about neuroplasticity? Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, you both do. Okay, good. Yeah. So you're allowing your brain to kind of like rewire, reconfigure, and you can pivot to the positive, and you can take a breath before you honk back at the person on the road, or you see construction and you're like, seriously, this is going to make me late. Well, those people are, doing work that frankly you don't have to do, and they're smoothing things out for you, literally, right? So
Right.
there are, back to the monkey mind. Also, I wanted to say, you got to close the tabs for all the business people out there. Close
Right,
all
right,
of the tabs
right.
at a certain point. Otherwise, you are going to
I feel like you're
further
speaking
explode.
directly to me with that one, the close the
No,
tab.
no, yeah,
I don't
both of
need
us
to
are.
see how many tabs I have open. So I just want to throw this in there as a quick aside. If anyone is interested in kind of going a little deeper, but in a very approachable way with brain plasticity, there's a great book called The Brain That Changes Itself.
Oh,
And that was my
favorite book.
first, that was my first introduction to neuroplasticity. I think Eric, you and I, one of us introduced it to the other. We read it.
Yeah, Brian Deutsch, I think, or I'm horribly mispronouncing his name, I'm sure, but I think Deutsch was the guy.
I love that idea that like our brain constantly is working on itself and can be changed, and it fits right in with that idea of growth mindset, I think.
Yeah. And by the way, multitaskers, beware, because I've had Alzheimer's researchers say that multitasking is like cigarette smoking for the brain. So, and that's another thing with
I'm so hosed.
meditation. Well, the thing with meditation is you're working on focus, you're working on clarity. I mean, really, you do become more productive, and you are then able to say, wait, can you hang on, please? Let me finish this one thing. And then you do it well. You do it really, really well. And then you can move on and do something else really, really well. You just have to let some of this stuff breathe. And we've become really good at not doing that. We're just doing everything at like 50%, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's the all-in-one printer is my sort of running joke, is that it's it does scanning okay, it does printing okay, it does all these other things sort of okay, but nothing very well.
Right? Yeah.
Well, I think this has been really, really interesting. And, I know that people are going to have more questions, or they're going to want to find ways to get in touch with you. So you mentioned a group on Facebook, which is out there. So I think if you'll talk a little bit about that, and then if people are interested in following you on social media, can you let them know where they can find you?
Oh, yes. I'm very easy to find. So the group on Facebook is called 2021 Fitter Together. And really, it's just an accountability group. Anyone can join. It's free. Anyone can post. You just post your workouts, recipes, questions. It is all fitness. Like, there's no other stuff that makes its way into that group. And I'm the only admin. So, you get kicked out if there's anything else that pops up, but that's never happened.
Right.
My website is Sonia-Azad, AZAD.com. And that's really probably the best place to go, because you can find my Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all that stuff, email to connect. And then I post I have like online yoga classes, online meditation, online stretching classes, because we're all sitting all day long. And I don't have information about my retreat there, but if someone emails me, if they're ever interested in coming on a little getaway, a little retreat to do some of this work, that should be on there too.
Awesome.
And Sonia, on that side of it, before we let you go, just I'm asking for a friend. If you wanted to get better at meditation or some of the yoga stuff, it sounded like there's some of that stuff online. Are there any other good resources for the woo-woo challenged, or the people that think they're woo-woo but that are probably not and need to be exposed to it? But how do you start learning a little bit more about it for the newbies?
So I think the best way for me to say this is like, find a teacher who you know. Like, it's hard to know anyone, right? But who you can trust, who you know and trust, and who you like to learn from. Like, Dan Harris is a very like pragmatic guy. He comes at it at this way, and you're like, oh, I get this guy. He gets me. I want to learn more from him. I would say the best way to become better at anything is to practice. And there's no end to meditation. It's not like you get really good and then you're like, I'm done. Unless you're, fully enlightened and levitating. And then, hey, I mean, you could teach me. But it's in the same way with yoga, you get better, your body begins to open. a product of the mind opening is the body physically opening. Truly, that is, I know that's like super woo woo, but it is really true. And so the best way to get good at anything is to continue practicing. I mean, this doctor also, I mean, she's great. Dr. Jennifer Ashton, she's the ABC News medical, like chief medical correspondent. She is a nutritionist, and she's written books about the pandemic. She's written books about self-care. She's written books about life after losing someone you love to suicide. I mean, she's really fantastic. I love her. And she also invites really great people into her realm. So I feel like she's an OB-GYN as well. So, I mean, she's surrounded by incredible people. And those are the kind of people I like to really look at and go, wow, how does she do it? But as she describes in this book, it takes effort. Everything takes effort. You're not just it's not going to come to you. You have to really be structured about it. There's a commitment, there's a discipline. And beyond all else, there's a desire, right? And the willingness to be curious and to step into it and go, you know what? I'm going to try because nothing else has worked. So what am I going to do? My choices are stay here or look at some other way and perhaps change.
Yeah, man's search for meaning, right? We've been trying to figure that out for a long time.
For a long time. Well, I just want to give one plug. So this is a permission slip from a financial advisor. It is a good idea to invest in yourself, right? That's one thing that we don't think about a whole lot, but I definitely, in our conversation, Sonia, there's a lot of times where women won't spend the money to do something like this, or take the time to go on a retreat, or even do something on a smaller scale because there is a feeling of guilt, right? Like I think we said selfishness. It was a word that was used when we were talking about self-care earlier. But I think it's so important because whether you're talking about finances or really like the finances are a means to an end. This is about having it, to be cliche about it, the best life that you can, and a life that's intentional and well designed. And it's impossible to do that if you're constantly reacting and not giving yourself the space to be proactive. Because I think success, however you choose to define it, is really driven by your mindset. And so especially if you're in a place where you feel disconnected, either from a higher power or from yourself or from other people, I think it's so important to focus on that. But even when you begin feeling that you're making progress, invest the money and find the ways to like reconnect with yourself so that you can get to the truth of what it is you really want. Because I think so frequently, at least in the conversations that we have, there's what people want on a surface level. And when you dig a little bit deeper and people get really honest with themselves, there's usually something else driving either the purchases or the status symbols or whatever it is. And when they get to the truth of that, they can make much better decisions financially too, that give them a life that they're more excited about. And I think that starts with mindset. And so I think it is incredibly important to like take those steps to make a better you, because all of that will have effects that go through. It's Eric, I think you use this a lot, where you throw a rock in a pond and there's ripples that you don't know are going to happen that keep going even after the rock gets thrown. So I would say definitely take the time to invest in yourself.
Yeah, I think, on the very most basic, sort of human level, we just all want to be happy. Everyone wants to be happy, feel loved, supported, and wants to be kind, and they want to feel, receive kindness. So if that's what we want to feel happy at the very most basic level,
it's
taking
peace
a moment,
too, right?
Yeah, taking a moment to figure out what's going to make me happy, and why is important. And then I think like doing something that makes you feel joyful every day. One thing, even if it's listen to your favorite song, get a coffee that you really like, or make one, or, write your spouse a small note, or your children, knowing what they offer you in your heart. Like these are little things that we can do that cost no money. Meditating also, by the way, costs no money. Even learning how to meditate, there's a lot of apps, or, whatever it is, yoga, you want to learn how to play tennis or soccer, whatever makes you happy. And, there's a lot of science around also creativity and the brain, art, music. These are all incredibly therapeutic. They're things that we did as children that we come away from. Take yourself back to that place and figure out, like, what is it that makes me happy? How can I do more of that? Because Mary used such a great word, reactive. Who wants to be reactive all the way through life? Like, what kind of life is that? Because at the end of it, then we're like, what was this? You know,
Well,
like that's
somebody
it.
else is running it. Somebody else is running your life at that point, right?
Yes, totally. Yeah. So
I think all those usable tips are so great. And I know that our audience will really appreciate them. And I just want to take a minute to say thank you for agreeing to come on board and to have such a great and authentic conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Namaste, Eric. Thank you guys so much. No, this was fun. I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thanks, Sonia.
And to our listeners, have a great day.